All right, so I've got right here both the iPhone 17 Pro as well as the Google Pixel 10 Pro. These are not the XL models, and these are also the two main phones that I carry with me. I usually carry an Android device, which happens to be my personal phone, and right now it is the Pixel 10 Pro, and then one iPhone, which right now is the iPhone 17 Pro, and I'm still going to test the iPhone Air and the 17 hopefully, so stay tuned to the channel. But I want to share with you guys just a comparison between the two and my experience of using both of these devices side by side. So let's start things off with the design. They are unique to themselves. However, I've seen lots of people talking about how iPhone and Apple, they went with the same design as the Pixel 10 Pro, taking that camera bar, but Apple calls it the camera plateau. And it takes up a little bit less than the top half, but it still takes up a huge chunk of the back of the phone, whereas the Pixel 10 Pro is just a camera bar. It's not that much, it doesn't take up that much space. And if you hear any noise in the background, that is my cat kind of playing with her toys. But with the iPhone 17 Pro, it has an aluminum unibody with a glass cutout for the back. Again, that's for like charging and whatnot. And then we do have ceramic shield on the front of the display, which is a 6.3-inch Super Retina XDR OLED. It's got ProMotion, so it's got 120 hertz refresh rate, amazing. And it's 3000 nits of peak brightness outdoors, which is awesome. And then you do get 3 colors with this, which is like, you know, I kind of wish they made it black, but they didn't. So that is a little bit of a bummer. You also do get camera control as like the extra button. And then on the left-hand side, you get the action button, which, you know, those 2 buttons aren't present on the Pixel 10 Pro. And then we get that triple camera setup, and we'll be talking about cameras later on in the video. It is a little bit thicker than its predecessor in a way, it's a little bit heavier, but once you start using it, you get used to it right away. It is 206 grams, and surprisingly, the Pixel 10 Pro is 207 grams at 8.6 millimeters versus 8.75. So ever so slightly thinner, but just 1 gram heavier. It has a glass back and Gorilla Glass thickness too, and then it also has an aluminum frame, which I personally like having it as a matte finish. Now with the 17 Pro, because it is an aluminum unibody, it has like that matte texture to it, so it's not going to get all, you know, fingerprinty like the Pixel 10 Pro. Granted, if you're rocking a case, none of this really matters to you. And the case that I use for both of these devices, and I've seen comments talking about like, oh, well, he talks about too much, because I use them. Like I legit use these cases, and I've been using them on all my devices. They are from Thinborn. Anyway, let's move on from those and talk about more about the Pixel 10 Pro. Again, this also has a 6.3-inch OLED display, 120 hertz refresh rate, and it does have a slightly higher peak brightness of around 3,300 nits. And I gotta tell you, it gets really bright outdoors. Both of them do, and this does come with 4 colors. So it has this, you know, the black color, which Google calls obsidian, and that's kind of like, this is the closest that you're going to get to that space black with the iPhone. It's this deep blue. So these are 2 colors that I'm rocking, and honestly, I'm really happy with going with both of these colors. I originally wanted the Moonstone for the Pixel 10 Pro, but you know what? I'm perfectly fine with having the obsidian here. So essentially what this really means for, you know, when you take a look at those things is like, yeah, Pixel 10 Pro may give a slightly brighter display outdoors, but in reality, putting them side by side, I couldn't really tell a difference, and I don't think you will either. Just the human eye is not going to tell a difference, so that's not really too important whether it has like 300-400 more nits. It's already super bright, especially if you're looking at your phone under harsh sunlight. Now the iPhone's new design with this ceramic shield 2 is apparently supposed to, you know, be really strong, and then that aluminum unibody is going to help with heat dissipation because it has that vapor cooling chamber. So, you know, long term we're going to see how well it performs. So far it's definitely been well. Actually, so far both of these devices have been doing really well in terms of that, not having too much, you know, of getting warm to the touch. Both phones are pretty much, you know, similar in size. If you put them side by side just like this, you see that the Pixel 10 Pro is ever so slightly taller, but around the same thickness and the same size, like the same weight. It's not a huge difference. if you want to, you know, rock both of them side by side, or you just had an issue, like a worry of if one's smaller or bigger than the other and whatnot. But these are the new compact sized phones. Like the 6.3-inch display size phones are the new compact. We don't have any more Asus Zenfone 10. We definitely don't have an iPhone 13 mini with that 5.4-inch display, which I still wish we had, but we don't. So this is like the next best thing. And that's why I'm rocking the smaller Pros, because I like having a Pro in a smaller compact form factor. I really do like both of these designs. And I'll tell you this, iPhone 17 Pro feels a little bit more industrial. That's the word I was looking for in my past videos, and I finally ended up finding it. And I feel like the Pixel 10 Pro kind of goes for more like luxurious look, like a premium look, even though 17 Pro is still premium. Just again, this is just my opinion and take on it, but I feel like rocking, you know, Pixel 10 Pro, it looks cleaner and more just, you know, minimal, aesthetically pleasing. And then the iPhone 17 Pro just gives that more industrial look, like, hey, here's a Pro, here's everything you want, you know, do whatever you want with the Pro. It's the best of the best. So Apple did go a different route with the 17 Pro and Pro Max this year. Again, that's just my take on it. You may disagree too. That's completely okay. Let me know in the comments down below. But let's move on to the software and the performance. Now, if we're putting this side by side, obviously, you know, we're going to hear some comments of like, well, you know, the Pixel 10 Pro doesn't have, you know, the fastest chipset on the market and all that stuff. But like, that's not too important. The real thing here is day-to-day performance. So for that, let me just do a quick rundown. With the iPhone 17 Pro, we get iOS 26, which I've been using the beta on my previous iPhone. It's been pretty buggy, but this one has been really smooth and good. Absolutely love it. It also has the A19 Pro chipset, which is insanely powerful with like neural accelerators, a strong GPU and CPU efficiency, and performance under a large, you know, amount of apps open in the background, or, you know, apps that require more power and energy. Like the A19 Pro is going to tackle that with its 3nm structure. And I can tell you this, in my limited time of using the iPhone 17 Pro, it has truly been great. Now, it also does come equipped with 12 gigs of RAM and starts at 256 gigs of storage. Good job, Apple. It goes up to 1 terabyte for the Pro. If you want 2 terabytes, you go for the Pro Max. Now, when we get to the Pixel 10 Pro, running Android 16 with 7 years of software updates, which, you know, is about the same as the iPhone 17 Pro, and we're getting the Tensor G5. It's improved over its predecessor, considerable improvements, especially in machine learning. Like, this chipset does really well with machine learning and all that great stuff. And I'll tell you this, pretty much every single app that I've used on the iPhone 17 Pro, I've been able to run on the Pixel 10 Pro, no problems whatsoever. Like, you can see, like, my main apps are essentially the same. Like, I'll have YouTube, I'll have the Tesla app, I'll have YouTube Studio, the settings, like camera, Google Chrome. I end up using Safari on the iPhone, I don't know why. You know, Gmail, calling, those all perform pretty much the same. We move over to the next page, and then, you know, iPhone has a little bit more apps on the home screen, but nonetheless, like Google here, like I use Clash of Clans, X, Threads, the Collector app, ChatGPT, and it runs really, really smooth. So like, I don't really measure Geek benchmark scores or anything like that. That's not really too important to me. The important thing for me, at least, is if I'm using this phone on a daily, and if it runs every single app super fast, super smooth, without, you know, skipping a heartbeat, then that's a good phone for me. And I've also seen comments like, oh, well, you're comparing a flagship to a mid-range. Well, that's your take on it. That's completely your take. But I think this Pixel 10 Pro is a good phone. Now, which one would I personally recommend, or which one would I personally choose, or one over the other? I would choose the Pixel 10 Pro, but that's because I'm a fan of Android 16, Material 3 Expressive, just the aesthetic and minimal look it gives. I like it more than iOS 26. I'll be completely honest with you. And just the fact that I feel like you still have more, you know, editing and more customizing features on the Pixel 10 Pro versus the iPhone 17 Pro when it comes to iOS 26. But again, that's just my take. You may agree or disagree. It's completely up to you. Now, Pixel 10 Pro, 16 gigs of RAM, but it starts at a base storage that is lower. 128 gigs. So maybe next year Google might get rid of the 128 and put in 256 gigs as the base storage, hopefully. But which one ultimately would I end up going with on a day-to-day basis? I'd probably still end up going with the Pixel 10 Pro again, just because I have the personal preference of preferring Pixel UI over iOS, and I haven't had the greatest iOS experience the past couple of years. Again, I've had this for a limited time, so it's like I have to keep testing it and seeing long term how well it will perform, and hopefully I don't come across any bugs or hiccups. But if I do, well, that's an unfortunate situation. But here's what I got to tell you: iPhone likely, for many of you, is probably going to convince you that it has better raw performance. There's no denying that too. Like, you look at the numbers, you do those geek benchmark scores, it's going to have better numbers. But like, I don't care about those. I really don't. And I've spoken with quite a few people who are not in the tech space. They don't care either. But if you are, then you may have to sit down and reconsider. And it's also going to give more of like a smoother optimization for many because of the A19 Pro and having that raw performance. So if you want to do video editing, GPU workloads, games, it's probably going to end up performing better on the iPhone 16 Pro, but it doesn't mean it doesn't result in the Pixel 10 Pro being super, super bad. Yeah, if you want to put it up against raw performance, yeah, the iPhone 17 Pro is going to beat it out, but I'm telling you, on day-to-day, I don't notice a difference. I really, really don't. Now, there's all these AI features too, and Pixel AI definitely shines in that segment with all the AI machine learning stuff. So I'm not even going to talk about Apple Intelligence because, just throw it out the window. It was a terrible rollout. It wasn't even polished. It wasn't ready. So that's why I don't even talk about it at all. And essentially, AI for me right now, yes, I use ChatGPT, I use Grok, and I've started to also use Microsoft Copilot and kind of test all three of them. And here and there with the Pixel 10 Pro, I use Gemini and see which one I end up using the most for my business needs. But I still don't think, and right now at least you can't convince me otherwise, that AI is a reason to upgrade your smartphone. Because in the end, pretty much all of these features with machine learning, AI, with the Pixel 10 Pro is going to trickle down to other smartphones as well. Like the photo editing features in the Photos app, it's going to trickle down into other smartphones too. So I'm not too focused on AI. And again, with the friends and family that I speak with, they're like, I don't really care about if my phone has AI or not. I just want my phone to work. That's essentially what they're looking for. So that's what many average consumers around me are saying. So let's move on to the cameras. With the cameras on both of these devices, they are great, but there is one winner here, and it's going to be the iPhone 17 Pro for me. Overall, if you want me to put them just for photos, I like the stills on the Pixel 10 Pro a little bit more than the iPhone 17 Pro, but overall, when you add video into it, this is going to be it, because it also just does work better with my workflow. Now, iPhone 17 Pro, it's got the triple fusion 48 megapixel setup with a main ultra wide and telephoto, and it goes up to 8x optical zoom. It doesn't have that periscope 100x zoom that Samsung has and now Google has, but would have been nice to see, but it's not there. And then the Pixel 10 Pro has a 50 megapixel wide, a 48 megapixel ultra wide, and a telephoto that goes up to 5x, and also 100x zoom. Obviously that 100x isn't optical, but it's nice to know that's there. And it does a lot of AI processing to make the photos look good, and I'll be completely honest with you, they actually look really good. But when you use zoom on the iPhone 17 Pro, it's pretty much just taking a photo and giving you the result as is. It's not really doing that much of AI processing. So if you guys want more natural, I guess with the zoom, probably going to want to end up going with the iPhone 17 Pro. Now, there are improvements with the front-facing camera. Normally, I don't talk about the front-facing camera because I really don't use it to take photos. The most I'll do is video call, and I don't really care about the quality for that, at least. But the iPhone 17 Pro comes equipped with an 18 megapixel camera with center stage. It's good for framing selfies and video from multiple angles. So like, here's the thing. For example, I'll go into photo right here, center stage off. So instead of facing my phone, horizontal to take a photo, I can just take it vertically and the result will still be a photo that was taken as if I was holding the phone horizontally. Same thing does go for video. Just go like that and bam, you're all set to go. So if anyone is going to be vlogging, making content, this is going to be great for making content. Honestly, I have some ideas of getting some A-roll and B-roll footage because of this. This is going to make things life so much easier. Absolutely love it. And I hope, future Pixel devices do bring that. And you do get a wide field of view with the front-facing camera with the Pixel. I believe it has a 42 megapixel front-facing camera, which is actually pretty good, but it doesn't have that like horizontal feature thing, so what the Apple calls center stage. So, oh well. But again, other than that, like I'm not really using the front-facing camera that much. And then you get video features for each of them with iPhone 17 Pro, ProRes, RAW, Genlock, again, dual capture, so you get to record both rear and front facing, and then you get, other things going on. And then with the Pixel 10 Pro, you're getting really good computational photography. You're getting a lot of zoom features with ProRes zoom, AI camera enhancements. It's maybe a little bit less, pro video infrastructure than Apple, depending on obviously what kind of workflows you do. And in my case, that is where I fall into. Like this is a part of my workflow, so I do need to have some of those Apple features that the Pixel 10 Pro does not offer. And here's where I kind of want to wrap things up with the camera department. Overall, I personally like the stills on the Pixel 10 Pro. But if your priority is taking videos, cinematic content, and then you also really want a just all-round great camera setup, you're going to go with the iPhone 17 Pro. Let's make it to the battery department. With the battery department, we're getting improvements with both of them. Now, the iPhone 17 Pro has a larger battery capacity. Apple doesn't disclose it at all, but it's got a larger battery. That's why it has a thicker chassis. And then it also has that vapor cooling chamber, which does help dissipate that heat, which essentially is going to help with the battery life. Now, Apple's claims 33 hours of video playback. I'm not even doing that, but I'll tell you this. I mean, it's at 64%. I ended up charging it. I just threw it on a wireless charger when I got home. But it's still, I probably would have been around like 30-ish% if I didn't do that. And then with the Pixel 10 Pro, again, I also threw that on a charger. It's at 73. That probably would have been around, 35. So long term, as of right now, the Pixel 10 Pro has been performing a little bit better throughout the day. But I'd like to see, I kind of like to revisit this department maybe a couple months down the line and see how well they perform. With the iPhone, you get 50% in 20 minutes with a 40-watt adapter. Obviously, you have to have that adapter, and then you also do get wireless charging with MagSafe for G2. And then Pixel 10 Pro, finally we get Pixel Snap, which is Apple's version of MagSafe. You get wire charging, 30 watts, so it's not the fastest. It's actually pretty slow. 15 watts for wireless G2 charging, and then obviously, if you want to go with the Pro XL, then you get faster charging. So there's that. But I'm kind of upset that we didn't get those faster charging speeds with the Pixel 10 Pro. But the Pixel also has a larger battery, 4,870, which I believe the iPhone 17 Pro is sitting around like the 42 to 4,300. It has like a weird number. Let me know in the comments down below if you know the exact one or like what the teardowns show. But I know capacity-wise, it's a little bit smaller than the Pixel 10 Pro. And that larger battery with the 10 Pro, I've seen in my use case with all-day heavy use has been slightly better, like ever so slightly better. Again, I've had limited time with the iPhone 17 Pro, so over time we're going to see if it does any better. So this one really is like they're neck and neck. They're really on par. But I also do feel like over time, the iPhone 17 Pro's battery degradation is going to be better. Like, it's not going to degrade as quick as its predecessors, but also it's not going to degrade as quick as the Pixel 10 Pro, in my opinion. Now, moving on into the pricing, $1099 for the iPhone 17 Pro starting, $999 for the Pixel 10 Pro. They are both eSIM, especially here in the US. Canada, I know the iPhone 17 Pro is also eSIM. I actually don't remember if the Pixel 10 Pro is, but nonetheless, like, I don't like eSIM. A lot of other people don't like eSIM, but hey, I gotta tell you, if this iPhone 17 Pro didn't have eSIM, it'd have a smaller battery too. Just wanted to put that out there. Anyway, the storage options start at 256 gigs with the iPhone 17 Pro and 128 gigs with the Pixel 10 Pro. So how much storage you use, that's really on you. I have the base for both because I actually don't think 128 gigs is enough for many people, but for me, a lot of the storage that I have is usually taken up with Google Photos, and I can already sync that, and Google Drive, so I can already use like Google One and make sure like I can free up storage on the device itself. So I don't really need to worry too much about that. And with Google Photos, I can also access it through other phones as well. And then the iPhone 17 Pro, I like how they finally made 256 gigs the base storage. They essentially didn't really raise the price, because if they had a 128 gig, it would have started at $999. Yes, the starting price right now is $1099, but it was always like that. Last year, 256 gigs, again, it was around the same price. So really, this category comes down to like preference. If you're going to spend a lot of money for both, and that's where some people will argue, like, again, you're not paying $1,000 and you're not getting a premium device, you're getting a mid-range, and a lot of that's going to be equating to the Tensor G5, which is like, why do you have to keep comparing it to those numbers? I don't know, like, that's just my take. I kind of wish we would move on from that, but I don't think we will. But just to wrap things up, I'll put it this way: if raw performance, video tools, like the ecosystem integration, which, by the way, if you kind of get into the Apple ecosystem, it's going to be pretty hard to get out. But anyway, with that integration, build durability, just having a aluminum unibody build, which actually I don't think it's that it may be nice looking, but durability wise, it's getting scratches. Scratchgate is a new thing happening. It's getting dings. Like, put a case on this. So I'd kind of scratch that out and throw it out. I wouldn't really get this for the build durability. But again, raw performance, video tools, good battery life. iPhone 17 Pro is probably going to be that phone for you. If you want more AI, more, especially in the photography game, but also just with like Google Gemini and, offline AI services, Pixel 10 Pro, and then a little bit slightly better battery life too, and then also a clean Pixel UI with Android 16, you're going to go with Pixel 10 Pro. Again, your decision with these two devices is a huge chunk, actually, is probably going to kind of be on which OS operating system you prefer, iOS or Android, how much you care about the storage, and whether things like faster wireless charging, wire charging, the camera setup or video editing tools matter for your workflow. Again, these are my two devices that I'm using on the daily, and if you see me in person, you'll see me rocking both of them. I'm using the Pixel 10 Pro, and yes, as my main and personal, but I also do have like business stuff on here, and I'll use it for social media for business purposes here and there. But for the most part, like contacting friends and family, Pixel 10 Pro, and then iPhone 17 Pro, again, I use mainly for business purposes, like for MTG Productions and all of my other channels as well. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, definitely be sure to superman the like button, comment down below, and best of all, share this video because it really does help out the channel out a lot. I will help push my content out to more people. Definitely be sure to check out my latest wallpaper pack right here. It is called Vintage Flourish. Links will be in the description down below. That's been it for me, and I'll catch you all in the next episode.